There's a moment in life when you stop chasing, and everything you were chasing begins to find you. Not because you gave up, not because you lowered your standards, but because you finally shifted into the frequency where effort is no longer required for alignment. In this frequency, the feeling of pursuit fades, and in its place emerges something far more powerful: resonance. You're not pulling reality toward you. You're becoming the version of you that reality has no choice but to respond to. It sounds almost mythical, like a story reserved for the lucky few, but it's not. It's a law. Joseph Murphy understood this deeply. He taught that when the subconscious mind is aligned with a clear intention and an embodied emotional state, what you seek begins seeking you. It's not magic, it's physics. The energetic blueprint you hold within you sends out a signal, and that signal tells reality what to deliver. You're either radiating coherence or contradiction, and when you reach that frequency of coherence, the delay dissolves. Things start to arrive not because you're forcing them, but because you've become a match for them. This is the frequency where synchronicity becomes normal, where people show up without you asking, where answers land before you search, where opportunities knock without you needing to prove anything. And the truth is, you've probably touched this state before, even if only briefly. Those moments when life flowed effortlessly, when everything aligned without trying, when the right thing happened at the exact right time. You weren't chasing, you weren't calculating, you were simply being, present, clear, connected. That was the frequency. And in that moment, life came to you. But here's what no one tells you. You don't need to stumble into this state by accident. You can access it deliberately, sustain it, expand it. Not through force, but through understanding. Because the reality you want is not hiding from you. It's orbiting around the frequency you haven't fully anchored into yet. And the moment you do, it stops orbiting. It lands. You've probably been there, doing everything right. Visualizing, saying the affirmations, staying positive, taking action, and yet, for some reason, the results stay just out of reach. It's like life is on the edge of giving in, but never fully does. That edge becomes exhausting, and over time it creates a quiet doubt. Maybe this just doesn't work for me. But the truth is, reality is responding to you. Always. Just not to your words, or your wishes, or even your conscious efforts. It's responding to your frequency, and frequency doesn't lie. What most people don't realize is that their outer effort is often being canceled out by an inner signal that says the opposite. You want abundance, but your nervous system is still in survival. You speak confidence, but your inner dialogue is soaked in hesitation. You plan for success, but your emotional baseline is still wired for fear. And it's not your fault. You were trained to prioritize behavior over vibration, to act instead of align. But reality is vibrational, not behavioral. It reflects what you are, not just what you do. Joseph Murphy explained this in the simplest yet most overlooked way. The subconscious mind does not respond to force or repetition alone. It responds to feeling, to belief, to the inner image you hold as true, even if you never speak it. That's the real reason results stall. It's not about how much effort you're applying, it's about what frequency that effort is coming from. If you're trying to manifest from a place of lack, your frequency still broadcasts, "I don't have it." And reality reflects exactly that, again and again. This is why two people can follow the same steps and receive completely different outcomes. One is aligned, the other is split. One is broadcasting coherence, the other contradiction. One is in harmony with what they desire, the other is trying to pull it from a state of resistance. The difference isn't visible on the surface, but reality always feels it, and it always responds accordingly. So if it feels like nothing's working, it's not a failure. It's feedback. The signal isn't wrong, it's just misaligned. And once you see this, you stop forcing and start tuning. That's when everything begins to shift. There's something undeniably magical about synchronicity. A thought of someone followed by a message from them minutes later. A solution appearing just when you were about to give up. A door opening at the precise moment you stopped forcing it. But this isn't coincidence. It isn't luck. And it's definitely not random. Synchronicity is a mirror, a message, a confirmation that your inner frequency has found alignment, and reality is responding in kind. Carl Jung called synchronicity the meeting of the internal and external in meaningful alignment. But what most people miss is that this alignment isn't something you wait for, it's something you generate. Synchronicity doesn't happen because you're trying harder. It happens because you've become internally coherent. Your thoughts aren't contradicting your emotions. Your intentions aren't fighting your self-image. You've stopped broadcasting a fragmented signal and started radiating a unified one. And reality, being the precise reflection that it is, begins to organize itself around that wholeness. Joseph Murphy spoke about this energetic response long before it became mainstream. He described the subconscious as a field that doesn't just receive commands, it transmits them. And when your transmission is pure, when your beliefs, emotions, and language are aligned, the signal becomes powerful enough to alter the field around you. That's when things begin to happen without logic. That's when timing becomes uncanny. That's when life stops feeling random and starts feeling guided. The truth is, synchronicity is always available. But most people are too busy trying to control outcomes to notice the guidance already forming around them. They're searching for signs with a mind full of noise, but coherence quiets the noise. It stabilizes your presence. It sharpens your awareness. And suddenly, what you used to call chance now feels like confirmation. Because you're no longer chasing evidence, you're living in resonance. So the question isn't whether synchronicity is real, it's whether your inner world is clear enough to receive it. Because when your frequency is coherent, reality doesn't just whisper, it answers. Every second of every day you're sending out a signal. Not through your social media, not through your voice, but through your energy, your inner posture, your emotional set point, the silent language your body and consciousness are speaking without words. And while you're busy thinking about what you want, life is listening to what you're actually broadcasting. That's the signal that shapes everything. Most people believe that reality is built from what they consciously focus on. They assume their goals, their intentions, their spoken affirmations are enough to move the universe. But beneath that conscious layer is something far more powerful, your default frequency. And it's being emitted whether you're aware of it or not. This is where the real creation happens. Not in the moments you try to be positive, but in the unconscious patterns you've rehearsed for years. Joseph Murphy taught that your subconscious doesn't respond to effort. It responds to repetition, belief, and emotional imprint. And what's repeated silently becomes automatic. This means the stories you tell yourself in private, the emotions you suppress but carry, the expectations you've normalized, they're all part of your broadcast. You might say, I am attracting success. But if your inner world is steeped in anxiety, self-doubt, or fear of failure, then the signal you're transmitting is fragmented. And reality, always loyal to vibration, reflects not what you claim, but what you consistently hold. This is why life can feel like it's ignoring your desires. It's not ignoring them. It's responding to the stronger frequency. And often, that stronger frequency is the one you're unaware of. The casual complaint, the emotional reaction you didn't question, the habitual "I can't" that slips out when you think no one's listening. But reality is always listening, not with ears, with resonance. The shift begins the moment you realize that you're never not manifesting. There's no off switch to your energetic influence. The only question is, are you broadcasting consciously or unconsciously? Because when you become aware of what you're transmitting, you take back your power. Not to force life, but to invite it in alignment with who you truly are. Imagine trying to drive a car with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. No matter how much you press forward, there's resistance pulling you back. That's exactly what happens when your thoughts and your emotions, your intentions and your language, your conscious desires and your unconscious beliefs are not in harmony. This is the split signal, the energetic contradiction that silently blocks what you're trying to manifest. It's one of the most common and yet most overlooked reasons why people feel stuck. You say you want more abundance, but you habitually speak about how expensive everything is. You affirm self-love, but still shrink when someone sees your worth. You visualize success, but silently fear what comes with it. And here's the core truth. The universe doesn't respond to words. It responds to frequency. And frequency is determined by your full system, not just what you say, but what you believe, what you expect, and what you feel deep in your nervous system. Carl Jung described this as the internal split between the conscious and the unconscious. When you hold conflicting messages within yourself, the unconscious always wins. Why? Because it's the deeper signal. It's where your true vibration lives. And no amount of surface-level positivity can override an unresolved inner contradiction. When there's incoherence, manifestation slows down. Or worse, it collapses entirely. Joseph Murphy knew that clarity is power, that the subconscious responds to one thing above all: alignment. When your inner dialogue, emotional tone, spoken language, and self-image point in the same direction, your frequency becomes clear. And a clear frequency is powerful. It's magnetic. It doesn't need to force results. It naturally attracts them. But when your signals are split, you're sending yes and no at the same time. Desire and fear, belief and doubt, permission and resistance. And that mixed signal confuses your field. It keeps your reality in limbo. You stay stuck in cycles of almost receiving, almost achieving, almost changing, but never fully landing. The breakthrough begins not with trying harder, but with becoming one signal, one message, one coherent vibration that tells life exactly what you're ready for, and doesn't cancel itself out before it can arrive. Before anything becomes physical, it must first become imagined. Not as a fleeting thought or vague wish, but as a consistent inner blueprint, clear, vivid, emotionally charged. The subconscious mind doesn't create based on effort. It creates based on instruction. And the two most powerful forms of instruction are mental imagery and language. Together, they become the map that your reality follows, whether you're conscious of it or not. Joseph Murphy was relentless in teaching this truth. Your subconscious is like fertile soil. Whatever image you plant in it and nourish with belief and emotion must grow. But most people are planting unconsciously. They allow the outer world to dictate their inner vision. They replay images of failure, conflict, scarcity, and then wonder why their lives reflect more of the same. It's not because they're cursed or unlucky. it's because their inner blueprint hasn't changed. Your language is the companion to that blueprint. Every word you speak either reinforces your alignment or weakens it. Words are not just sounds, they are frequency encoded with belief. When you say, "I can't afford that," or "nothing ever works out for me," even casually, you're sending commands to your subconscious. And the subconscious, being obedient and neutral, accepts them. It begins adjusting your perception, your emotions, and your behavior to match that script. Reality responds accordingly. But when you choose your imagery consciously, seeing not just what you want, but what you are becoming, and when your language mirrors that vision, something powerful happens. You create coherence. The subconscious receives a clear signal, uninterrupted by contradiction. That clarity becomes magnetism, and manifestation stops being a struggle. It becomes expression. This is why vague visions don't manifest, and why empty affirmations often fall flat. Because the subconscious doesn't obey what you say occasionally, it obeys what you feel consistently. And the images you dwell in, combined with the words you repeat, become the instructions that shape the life you live. There is a subtle yet monumental difference between wanting and receiving. One reaches, the other rests. One signals separation, the other broadcasts possession. And until you shift out of longing and into the frequency of having, what you desire will always remain just out of reach. Not because it isn't available, but because your vibration keeps it in the future. The bridge between wanting and having is not effort, it's gratitude. Gratitude is not merely a polite reaction to good things. It's not reserved for moments when life gives you something visible. True gratitude is a vibrational declaration. I already have it. It tells the subconscious mind that the desire has already been fulfilled, and therefore it must align perception, emotion, and behavior with that version of reality. Joseph Murphy spoke of this often, that the feeling of having is more powerful than the act of asking, because asking implies lack, while gratitude assumes fulfillment. Most people remain in longing without realizing it. They mask it with hope, with positive thinking, even with spiritual practice. But underneath, there's still a silent frequency of, "It's not here yet." And that signal dominates everything. It holds the desire at arm's length, even as the conscious mind tries to pull it closer. This is why manifestation can feel so slow, because the vibration is sending a mixed message. I want it, but I don't feel it yet. Gratitude dissolves that conflict. It collapses the distance, not by faking emotion, but by anchoring into a version of reality where the outcome is already yours. When you embody that state, when you wake up feeling thankful for what has not yet arrived as though it already has, you change your relationship with time, with energy, with possibility. You stop pursuing and you start aligning, and the shift is unmistakable. You become lighter, clearer, magnetically receptive. You're no longer trying to pull something toward you. You've entered the frequency where it naturally flows. Because gratitude is not the reward, it's the gateway. And once you walk through it, life begins to respond in ways that logic can't explain. But your vibration can. Everything changes when you stop trying to attract and instead become. Because the most magnetic force in existence is not desire, it's identity. You can think higher, speak better, even visualize more clearly. But if you're still embodying the version of you who waits, doubts, or questions their worth, the field will mirror that. Identity is the deepest frequency you carry. It's the vibration you broadcast without words, and once it aligns with the reality you seek, resistance disappears. Joseph Murphy knew this well. He taught that you don't get what you want. You get what you are, consciously and subconsciously. The self-image you hold, even if silently, shapes every experience you call life. And when that image is fragmented, unclear, or built on old programming, the results will reflect that fragmentation. But when you create inner unity, when your beliefs, emotions, thoughts, and sense of self begin to speak the same language, you become coherent. And coherence is power. This is what it means to vibrate from the unified field. Not a field outside of you, but the energetic matrix where intention, feeling, and identity become one. In that state, you're not performing a frequency. You are the frequency. You don't visit it in meditation and lose it in fear. You stabilize it. You live in it. And because reality is structured to respond to wholeness, it moves toward you without resistance. Not because you're chasing anything, but because there's no static left in your signal. You become undeniable. Not louder, but clearer. Not faster, but deeper. Your vibration speaks before you do. It enters rooms, shapes interactions, magnetizes outcomes. And it all begins with choosing to stop being the version of you that's waiting and fully embodying the one who already is. That's the frequency where life knocks at your door. Not because it's impressed by your effort, but because it recognizes you. You've become familiar to the version of reality you've been asking for, and now it has no choice but to arrive.